Okay, good morning. We're just going to start a little intro here and we'll be right back. All righty, good morning. I hope everybody's doing well and welcome to Let's Talk Stroke. I am your host and stroke survivor, Jerry Wall. And for those of you that are new here, I appreciate that you're here. And also, I provide a platform for all survivors to share their journeys from all across the world, and also bring on experts in brain health so they can share their knowledge with all of us so we can learn more about the brain. So thank you guys for being here. And that this morning, my guest is Nick Clarke, all the way from the UK, and he had a stroke, and he also has a charity, StrokeInformation, and we'll talk about that as well. So thank you again for being here. And if you haven't done it yet, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Let's Talk Stroke. I appreciate it, guys. So let's bring on Nick. Okay, hey. How are you, Nick?
I'm good, thanks, and thanks for having me on your show.
Absolutely.
This is not the first time we've met, and yeah, I mean, each and every single one of us have got a story to tell because every stroke's different and every recovery journey is different, and we are very similar, Jerry, in that we just want to try and make a bit of a difference.
Yeah, absolutely, and we'll talk about what you're doing because it is. I'm really happy and proud of you what you do for the stroke community. I mean, because it's like here in the United States, every 40 seconds someone has a stroke. It's kind of crazy, but and you have your own stats out there in the UK. But let's just start, and I'll put you full screen here. Full screen. Who was Nick before your stroke?
Oh, this is the boring bit. I used to play football a bit, or as you call it, soccer. Although I didn't make it, although I did play at Old Trafford, the home of Manchester United, so I'm used to that sort of environment. But I wasn't sort of going to make it as a footballer, so I just went into normal working life, and effectively I didn't know it, but worked and got the usual stress that came with it, and ultimately that's what caused my stroke. So it's been a tough old journey so far.
Yeah. And you had your stroke 2012, I believe, right?
September 10th, 2012, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, about 2 years after me.
It's just crazy. I mean, it's just it's the old cliche. You know, I remember at the time being in that sort of crash trolley, and the paramedics said to me, "Oh, well, they're actually talking to my wife," and they went, "Oh, we think he's having a stroke." And I could hear everything that was going on, and I'm thinking, a stroke? I'm 42. I shouldn't be having a stroke at 42. And it was only because of that realization, and once I became sort of educated, I established that you can have a stroke at any age.
Right.
The youngest person that we've helped is 3 years old.
Wow. Yeah, so talking about your charity. called
Yeah,
Stroke
it's just
Information.
it's just it's signposting, letting people know that there is help out there. I there are other great stroke charities out there, and I'm not sort of condescending any work that they do. But I do it from the fact of I've been there. I know what it's like. I know exactly what that person is feeling, what they're going through, the emotion, the physical aspects, the mental aspects, and it's just I just want to, like you, make a difference. And if you can signpost somebody to get the relevant help and support, then so be it. And that's what we've done with the charity. I started that through an old work colleague who effectively put me some web space aside. And he said, Nick, I've done this for you. Let me know when you're ready. And I'm just like, what? I haven't got a clue what I'm doing. And he gave me a very, very quick lesson on the basics. And it's just grown from there. And when you think about 2012 is when I had the stroke, 2014 is when I started StrokeInformation. And then 2016, we became a registered charity.
Right.
Because initially I wanted to help people at the coalface in hospitals. But in the UK, it's very sort of bureaucratic. And you can't sort of get approval from the hospital unless you're a registered charity. So I grabbed the bull by the horns and said, sod it, I'm going to go and get charity status. Sod you. And on the 7th of April 2016, I did it. And not looked back since. We're growing stronger. We now employ 6 stroke survivors.
Nice.
Granted, it's only part-time. But for those 6 or 7 hours a week, or even 5 hours, what I'm contracted to do, they just feel part of something again and feel worthy. And you can't replace that.
Right. They don't feel so isolated.
Exactly. And the WhatsApp group, it drives me mad because there's like over 90 odd people in the WhatsApp group, and they've all got an opinion, rightly so.
Right.
But sometimes you think, oh no, I've opened a can of worms here, and my phone's going ping, 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 and you're like, whoa. So you have to sort of mute it, because the bottom line is as well, I don't want to go back to where I was in 2012 and stressed. And I mean, I don't do stress now. Simple as.
No. And you talked about therapy over the UK. You don't. You really don't get enough therapy.
6 weeks. 6
and
weeks.
See, and that's something that I like to change is have some kind of information when you leave the hospital instead of just kicking you to the curb and we just so now what do I do? I did some therapy, but now I'm like lost. I mean, that's what I thought.
I mean, I remember because I was in a situation where I was in an NHS hospital, which is obviously NHS is very famous in the UK. Excuse me. But then through my work situation, I got transferred to a private hospital, and it was great. It was like living in a hotel. I couldn't ask for more. But on the same token, there was nobody that I could compare myself with to say, well, he came in after me and they're walking. Why am I not walking? That type of thing. And I think within the UK, there's a distinct lack of compassion. There's a distinct lack of empathy, and there's no sort of motivation. So you sort of leave hospital and there's no follow-up after 6 weeks, and then you're left to your own devices. And it's like I won't name the people that we've helped, but we've got one particular guy at the moment who was 34 when he had a stroke 2 years ago. And I kid you not, he was on the phone to me quite a few times in tears because he just didn't know where to turn. And he was told the awful news that he would not walk again. And you imagine a 34-year-old lad being told that he'd not walk again. He was a father of one, and he reached out to us for help and support. And guess what? Not only is he walking, he has just completed a triathlon, and he's also our latest employee, only part-time, granted.
Sure.
For the charity, because it's making him feel worthy and part of something again. I know how we raise funds, bloody hard work, but we do. I mean, in the UK, I don't know if it's the same in the States, we have grants that you can apply for, and providing that you tick the relevant boxes, you will get people that will say, oh, I like what you do. And that's one of the things that's been my sort of bugbear when I started the charities. When you look at all the charities, you sort of say, well, where's the money coming from, or where does it go? And 9 times out of 10 they say research, and you kind of can't argue with research, because but we all know you're not going to stop a stroke from happening.
Right.
You can put preventative measures in, certain preventative measures, but there's things like AVMs, holes in the heart. You're not going to stop a stroke from happening. So I thought the methodology, rather than trying to prevent it, to manage it and cope with it, with living with the effects of stroke. I mean, one of the biggest ones, I'm sure you'll agree, is fatigue.
Yes.
Trying to explain to somebody who is not really conversant with the stroke sort of world, to try and educate somebody about the fatigue side of thing, it's mind blowing.
Yeah. How do you still have fatigue?
Yeah, but I know how to manage it now.
Sure.
It's one of those things I say to people that we help. If you're tired, sleep, because your brain is telling you to sleep. It wants you to sleep.
Right.
While you are sleeping, those little sort of neurons in there are actually rebuilding.
Yeah, neuroplasticity. It's rewiring the brain.
Yep, exactly. With a fantastic book. I'm sure everyone's aware of it, but there's this book called
Stroke Beast. Why do I
Stroke
know that?
Rebel.
Let's see. I'm going to pull. Okay.
And it's all about neuroplasticity and how it works, and it's just an amazing book. So if you get anybody that's watching this, if you ever get the opportunity to reach out to Linda Radstad, then that book is unbelievable.
Wow.
And speaking of books, Jerry, if anybody is interested, I've also done a book.
If somebody's out there, we'll put it in the comments. But when did you publish that?
Last year.
Yeah.
It's about my life as a footballer and the football sort of side of things, but also the emotional side of the stroke, and reaching out to your family members as well, making them realize and appreciate the type of thing that you're going through, and to also see it from their perspective.
Right. Now, there was a question I forgot it, and I apologize. I love to get the people that are watching to get involved and ask questions. And there was one. Oh gosh, what was it? Let's see here. Let me just look back. How do you control fatigue or manage it?
It's tough because you sort of get to the point where you can appreciate that you are tired. Yeah. I mean, I again don't know about you, Jerry, but when I've had a full-on day, excuse me, I can start slurring my words,
Yeah.
and it will take me an almighty amount of effort to sort of focus on making sure that I'm saying the right thing and not gobbledygook. And I think personally, the best way of treating that is with laughter as well. We have a laugh about it.
Yeah.
When I'm walking down the street, when I get tired, and I again don't know if anyone else can resonate with this, but my affected side, my leg, will kick out.
Yeah.
And it's weird how it works. It's just, but you know what? I'm alive.
Yeah. Absolutely. Do you get because when I get really like what you're saying, I get clonus where my legs start, everything starts shaking. It's you know what? Thank you guys. And there was another question too. Kevin is saying that's a great book. Did you read the book, Kevin? I don't know if you and Serena, I saw that you said Serena from Canada says we need links, and he's got a ton of links, and I've got them on. I'll put them in after the show. I'll put them in there, all the links, and because you do have a lot, and it's I put one caption here. Could they find it by just doing this? Let's see. Oh gosh, look, I can't even. I will get it here, guys. Oh my gosh, here it is right here. Can they find it for just like there on the bottom where it says stroke information? If they go there?
If they go there, but it's .co.uk.
Oh,
so it's all the W's, www.strokeinformation.co.uk.
Okay, you guys, hopefully you got that. I put the wrong thing, but
No, that's all, Jerry. Every day's a school day.
Yeah, every day. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So how long you only spent 6 weeks in the hospital?
I was in for 4 weeks.
4 weeks. Okay.
But I didn't find out until what year are we in? 2004, around about 2022.
Right.
I found out that I was actually put in a coma. I never knew that.
You know, that's so funny. Not funny, but it's funny that you say that that long ago, because I'm still just finding out that stuff I didn't know in the hospital. 10, 12 years later, I'm still finding out stuff. Kind of crazy. So, wow. So you just found out that.
Yeah, and it's my mother-in-law that actually told me, and I don't know whether I think whether she did it vindictively but she said, "Do you actually realize how close you were to death?" I was like, "No."
Right.
And she actually said that the medics were preparing my family members for the worst, that it was going to happen. And well, I just I'm thank the Lord, although I'm not religious, but I do thank the Lord for the consultant that he blessed me with, and I call him God because he discovered that I had fluid on my spine.
Oh, really?
And he performed a lumbar punch, and because of that, he sort of freed up that fluid. And probably, if I'm honest, if he hadn't have done it, I probably would have been paralyzed.
Wow, boy, lucky he found that.
Yeah, and I'm really going to big myself up now. It hurt like hell. It really did hurt, and the needle was this long, but no, it wasn't. It wasn't at all. It was just
wow. So
it goes back to what I was saying before, Jerry. It's just about getting across to people. Don't give up.
Right.
Because you never know the power of that's in there. It's a fantastic tool.
Yeah, it really is amazing. I mean, from you're on your deathbed to now you've got, when we talked, you had Botox on on the affected side.
my arm was like that. If I
Yeah.
can stand up, my arm was like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Okay.
that was the best I could do with the spasticity and everything. So someone told me to go and have or try Botox. So I went to my GP, and they said that they can't guarantee that it'd work. But within 36 hours, I was doing this.
It's unbelievable. Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah. I know the Botox. I've had the Botox, and that helps. Not for everybody, maybe, but for me, it worked wonderful, and obviously you as well, Nick.
I've started looking better as well.
Yeah, look what happened. Oh gosh. Yeah, no kidding. So, like right now, how's you like let's see, 12 years out or so. Do you what year are you still affected? I mean, you're running
I walk with a
marathons.
limp. I walk with a
Yeah,
limp, and I've definitely got a right-sided weakness.
yeah,
But the way, even now with the charity and the way that the other people that we help, you just look at yourself and think, I am so bloody lucky,
yeah,
because
yeah.
it could be so worse, and it could be, yeah, and
Oh,
you just try and give that motivation to the other people that you're trying to help.
yeah. And that's a big thing. I mean, I get calls. I think we talked about calls all the time. Like sometimes my phone's on silent all the time just because of the calls from all across the world. And it's usually in the middle of the night when I'm getting a lot of calls. And trust me, I'd love to do it, but I can't in the middle of the night. But
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, when you look at the actual figures globally
right,
regarding stroke, 17 million strokes a year.
yeah, I
That's
know,
scandalous.
isn't it?
Absolutely scandalous. And every one of them is different. Yes, it might have some similarities, but everyone's different. But on the same token, there, I say that everyone's recovery journey is different as well, because what might work for me might not work for you, and this, that, and the other. And
Right,
all we can do is try to let people know what worked for us.
right,
I'll give you another case. We currently have a 50-year-old female that came to our drop-in last sort of July time.
right.
And if I'm honest, the whole family and probably her relatives had given up on her. It was a second stroke, and basically the doctors and the medics and basically said she won't talk again.
Mm,
Unfortunately, she's got aphasia. She won't talk. She's going to struggle. And I'm not kidding. I'm not blowing myself up, and it's not just about me. There's
sure.
other people within the group. But I actually spoke to her yesterday, and I said, "Why do you keep coming back?" And not being disrespectful, but why do you keep coming back? Because, and she just went, "You make me feel normal.
Yeah,
You give me time, and there's no judgment.
right.
There's patience." And her talking, I kid you not, has come on a treat in 12 months.
Wow,
And
wow.
I can actually hold a conversation with her. And,
Right.
I've even said to her, amongst other people within the group, "You're having me on. You've never got aphasia. You've never got any problems with your speech. You're having me on." And again, another thing that you might find funny, talk about swear. She can swear like a trooper.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Let's see here. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned about you said, "Oh, I don't want to give myself a pat on the back," but I had a gentleman on the show, um, I don't know, years ago, and he didn't want to be on the show. He's, believe it or not, like, won't mention names, but he was from the UK as well, and he said all he feels like doing is committing suicide. He hated stroke. And I said, maybe if you just share your story with everybody else, maybe help. And finally, he did it. He said, I'm glad I did it because now it feels like a weight was lifted off my shoulder, and so that he can help other people out. So thank you. And I thought, wow, that's amazing. And I still was trying to keep after him to be on the show, and it took about 6 months or so, but I'm glad he did.
Jerry, do you know what? And I really do give you a round of applause for that, because at the end of the day, the whole point of it is not giving up on someone.
Right.
And even if it's, I understand and I appreciate for some people to relive their stroke is like the worst thing in the world. They won't want to do it. I get that. But give it time.
Right.
Give it time where you might want to talk about your stroke, because it might help somebody else. I don't know if I would have ever considered committing suicide,
right.
But there has been dark days and
yeah.
days when I can't be bothered. But to end it like that, to me, it's not about ending their life for you. It's the effect that it has in the ones you leave behind.
Right.
And I just don't think anyone should put them through that. And I know that I don't know if it's in the US, but in the UK there's a big emphasis on mental health.
Oh yeah.
At the moment. And if nothing else, just reach out and talk. And even if you can't help them, if you just listen and make them feel as though they're sharing that burden.
Right. Exactly.
It works wonders. It does work wonders.
Yeah, and I love talking to people because I understand. I know what they're going through. Yeah.
Your left side leg rolls outwards. Yeah. Well, again, it's just a question of building your strength and exercise. And there's a saying that if you don't lose it, you use it. If you don't use it, you lose it. See, even I get it wrong.
No, I understand exactly. Let's see. Thank you guys for putting comments in here. I really appreciate all these. Totally made me take time. Yeah, and Will was on not too long ago, and he's doing the same thing, running like a mad dog out there. Just is great. From his stroke, he had quite the, well, every stroke is different, but yeah, it's just amazing. And I'm glad that what you're doing is really helping other people out, because how often do you do your it's kind of like Zoom calls type things, don't you?
The drop-in is every week. On a Monday, between the hours of 10 to 12 UK time. So that would be really early in the morning for you lot in across the pond. But you are welcome to join it if you want. I'll keep Jerry updated with the links, and by all means, we do have people from Trinidad who join up.
Okay.
We have someone from Malta. We have a lady from LA, and we have
that's really early
from Madrid. No, not Madrid. Milan, Italy.
Yeah, nice.
So,
wow.
I mean, obviously, with the aftercare around the world, it does sort of differ.
Sure.
And the whole point of is about just sharing the stories and sharing your sort of signposts and things that you found tough. And if you can help somebody else going through it, then so be it. That's what it's all about.
That's exactly. So happy that you do that every week, because it is very important to be with other survivors that we know we're going through. And I met a guy at the grocery store the other day, and I knew, we could tell what a stroke brain injury looks like especially when he's walking, the arm and all that. So I sat there, and he saw me swinging my leg out, and so we got to talking, and it's a great conversation because I keep saying that, but it's true. He knows what I'm going through, and what he knows what I
know what you're saying.
I think everybody we know what we're going through. That's maybe, but yeah, it's great. It's really taken over my life. like
Well,
yours.
the one thing that really sort of is a bugbear for me is the many, many misconceptions about stroke. Um, I recall a time when I went to see an old boss at Manchester City's stadium.
Right?
He was having a conference there, and I walked in with my stick, and he just turned around and he went, "Bloody hell, Clarke, you don't look like you've had a stroke." And I just turned around and said, "John, I worked hard on my recovery." I said, "What did you want me to look like?"
Yeah.
And he went, "Well, I don't. That's not what I meant." But I said, "John, if you want me to go and sit over there, fall asleep, dribble, and pee in a corner, I
Yeah.
can do that easy."
Uh,
But I've worked hard at what I've managed to achieve so far, and you know, I've got other people that tell me that, oh, it's because you've got a fair amount of timber, you put weight on, you don't sort of exercise regularly. Okay, I accept that. Yeah. How do you explain a 3-year-old having a stroke?
right.
No. So, um, the most common sort of misconception within the UK is, oh, you don't look like you've had a stroke, and
Here too.
you think you're back to normal, or not, whatever's normal anyway.
Yeah.
You know,
It's so funny you say that because that's a big thing here. Going, well, you don't look like you had a stroke. What am I supposed to look like? So
yeah,
I'll put a big tag on my forehead and say I had a stroke.
yeah,
When people say, "What happened to your leg?" Because they see me, like you were saying earlier, you're limping. Me too. My grandkids say you walk like a penguin, Papa. Which is totally cool. I don't care. Um, I know this from Musong. What did
what
you?
is my deficit now? I'd say being English.
Yeah, uh, yeah.
um,
That,
I'm, I'm weak on the right hand side, but compared to where I was 10 years ago,
yeah,
I'm nowhere near it. Nowhere near it.
right.
Um, it's just, again, in a certain way, if I can use the phrase, we're impatient buggers, because we want to get back to normality as quickly as possible, whatever
Sure.
normality may be.
Right.
But it's one particular thing that I'm obviously very passionate about at the moment is getting people that have had strokes back into employment,
Right.
whether part time with us, or if there's other opportunities that we can speak to their employers and say, look, just make some reasonable adjustments. You've got a fantastic worker there that's got great ethos, but you just need to be a little bit more adaptable to what you're prepared to allow him to do or her to do.
Right.
And it does work when you can have that sort of conversation with employers and get them thinking differently.
Absolutely.
Uh,
100%. Because is it different over in the UK? Because here, I feel this is just me. I feel that a lot of people, employers, do you have a disability when you to put on thing, but they don't discriminate. But I'm just saying me. I think they do because that a lot of people don't get hired because they say they have a disability.
yeah, I think in the UK the law is that you don't even have to mention about any sort of disability until you get offered a position.
Ah,
But I mean, I'm not being funny. If you had a stroke and you went to interview and you performed really well, they wouldn't know you'd had a stroke anyway. And then when they
right,
offer they offer you the job, and then you say, by the way, you need to be aware that I had an ischemic stroke or a hemorrhagic stroke, and it has this kind of impact on me. If I'm being brutally honest, your application will end up in the bin
yeah,
because they don't want to effectively take a chance on somebody who, I was going to say someone who's been used, somebody who's broke, um,
yeah,
but I mean we got a guy who moved up from London to the UK, and he reached out to us, and I went round to see him.
Wow.
And we just got on like a house on fire. I found out that he used to be a carpenter, which is part of my background. He's into football, which obviously I am. And I said to him, "Oh, what about work?" He said, "Oh, I used to be a steward with Tottenham Hotspur, but when I had my stroke, they basically let me go."
Yeah.
And I just said, "Well," I said, "how would you feel about working for a local Stockport, the local football club?"
Wow.
"Well, they wouldn't have me." I said, "How do you know they wouldn't have you?" And he said, "Oh yeah, I'd be up for that." And I took him down. They interviewed him, saw what he could actually do. Because at the end of the day, a steward is like an usherette in a cinema, or if you have them over there in the States. And theoretically, all you need to do is say, "Yeah, the toilets are over there, the exits are over there, the kiosks are over there, and your seat's up there," type of thing. And he's been with us at Stockport now for probably 5 years.
Good for him. Good for you to.
Exactly.
You know?
And for, all right, it's seasonal because obviously it's the UK soccer season, but when the season kicks in, it's 3-4 hours every 10 days.
Wow.
He feels part of normality again.
Yeah. It's society.
He's got a use, yeah. And even just making that little bit of a difference has just been massive for me. Just to see John, and it's one of the things that I say to a lot of people that have had strokes. We're friends for life.
Yes.
Simple as, because we've got something in common.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Someone also flew by. Did you? Do you drive?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Very badly, apparently.
That's awesome. Yeah,
But
and
again,
we'll get up.
Jerry, on that moment as well. Driving there's an element of the rush to get back driving. But don't rush it. It takes as long as it takes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we've known people that have had strokes while they've been behind the wheel, and it could have been catastrophic.
Yeah.
Luckily, touch wood, they're all right. But don't rush it. Don't, just take your time.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I agree, because I was driving. I don't know how many years after, and I had a seizure while I was driving. Luckily, I pulled over right away. Do you have any seizures?
No.
No.
I did probably the first 3 months afterwards. I had one seizure.
Wow.
I'm saying it was a seizure because it was another effect that I didn't have a clue what was going on.
Right. Right.
But just to also share with you, this fella.
Yes. Let me put a full screen, because I've got what do you call it? I've got a bunch of those that you sent.
Yeah. This little fella is Steady Eddie. He's our mascot. He's our registered mascot, and he's based on Aesop's fable, The Tortoise and the Hare, because it sort of denotes the one who takes their time get there in the end. And it's a bit like recovering from. Yeah, exactly.
I've got a bunch, and it's no one can smell it, but I could smell it.
You didn't pay me for them, did you?
What's that?
You never paid me for them.
Oh no, the check's in the mail. No, I should have worn. Dang it! I have a T-shirt.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know it's in the wash. Is it in the wash? I'm fine. It's fine.
Actually, I wore it yesterday. I wore it yesterday because it still fits me, believe it or not. Okay, I gained a little weight, but it still fits. But yeah, no, that's great. I mean, so you're really making a difference, and I love that. I mean,
I'm trying to, but it's not
little by little.
It's not just me. I mean, even when we do the drop in or we meet somebody new, "Oh, Nick, you must be really proud of what you've achieved." It's not just me. All I've done effectively is had the portal, had the presence to put the thing out there, and within the group, there's, as I say, 80 to 90 people.
Right.
It's all their opinions and all their experience of stroke. So it's not just me. All I've just done is given them a platform.
Yeah, absolutely. It's terrific, and because I think I mentioned before, because stroke, I was in banking. That was my love. I couldn't get enough of it. But now, years later, this is it. I mean, I can't go back to banking. This platform that we're doing is so important to me. And 2 years after my stroke, I was in speech therapy. One of my speech. That's why I didn't like speech therapy. He says, Jerry, just gonna let you know, you're probably gonna lose your job. I said, no, that's not gonna happen. Well, guess what happened? I lost my job. But wow, that's
that's my point exactly on the employment side of things with the charity, is just to reach out to employers and say, just cut this guy a bit of slack,
right.
Because he the funniest thing I can say to you is that there was one guy within the group who was his stroke was actually caused by his employer, but that's another story, and it might even go legal. He doesn't work there anymore, but guess what? He's just got a new job working for the DWP, which is the Department for Work and Pensions, the people who assess your benefits.
Oh my gosh.
And for years we've been saying, if the DWP actually employed stroke survivors,
right,
they would actually cut out the good from the bad. So you get the people then that are spinning the yarn and saying, oh yeah, I had a stroke and I can't do this. And and Steve's in his first week of employment, and I just doff my cap, because if he can pull out the facts of some people do spin the yarn, then I get it that it's not the same for the States. You don't have that kind of benefit system type thing, but it's just to sort of prove that you can do something. You have still got a purpose in life.
Right. Absolutely.
You just got to, and maybe you need help finding it. That's fine, but even for you with and any of your subscribers and listeners and viewers, if there's anything that we at StrokeInformation can help with, then I'd love to try.
Absolutely. Well, we'll be definitely talking about that, because it is so important, because some people don't know where to go, and they feel they're, I don't want to say worthless, but what can I do now? I walk with a limp. I mumble my words here and there, but I now have to write with my non-dominant hand, and it doesn't look good, but that's why we have computers and all that. So
don't even get me going on writing. This pen here,
yes,
it can actually write underwater.
Seriously?
It can write other words too.
Yeah, I'm sure it can. Look, I have a pen. The pen and the little stickers. I got such a nice little thing of that. What you did is just very appreciated. Wow. This is yeah. So trying to think what else. Serena, yeah, that's the YouTube channel. How many members? Yes, it's growing. But Will, you had a comment here too, I think. And Serena, I'll get those links as soon as we're done here, of all the links to what Nick is doing. It's amazing. So yeah,
I don't think people realize.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest thing, I again don't know sort of figures in the States, but stress is a massive factor, and if you can try and sort of eliminate that stress, then we would reduce the number of strokes, definitely.
Yeah, yeah. How would you define or tell somebody, just reduce the stress? Well, got money problems. A lot of people when they have a stroke, you know how the income changes. Um, at least here in the
Yeah,
States.
yeah, it's tough. I mean,
Yeah.
again, I won't go into particular massive amounts of figures and stuff, but when I was working for a living,
Right.
I was probably, I mean, I wasn't, I'm exaggerating here, but I was on movie star wages. I was really well, looked after.
Right.
I could afford nice holidays. I drove a nice car, and then in the blink of an eye, it's just taken all away from you. And
Yeah.
I remember at the time of my stroke, it was like, right, what am I going to do? I'm not going to be able to go back and do the job that I did because it was a very, very stressful environment.
Right.
And if it wasn't for the charity, I don't know what I'd do, if I'm honest. But I feel as though I've found a true vocation because it's needed. It's definitely needed. And, I one of the things we do when we started the charity is like, right, so you're just going to concentrate on your local area where you live. And incidentally, there's 7,300 stroke survivors in Stockport where I live.
Wow.
Yeah, it's massive. And we do various things throughout the country, raising the awareness and doing bucket collections, etc. And I remember doing a bucket collection in Southampton, which is down on the south coast of the UK. And all of a sudden, this bloke rang me up and he said, who are you? Why are you doing a collection in Southampton? I've never heard of StrokeInformation. And I said, well, we're a fairly new charity. We're just trying to get established and we're raising vital funds so that we can expand our sort of network and our growth, our reach. And he said, well, you've got no right in being in Southampton because...
Wow.
And I just turned around and I said, hang on a minute. I said, if someone has a stroke from Southampton and contacts me, am I just to turn around and say, I'm sorry, I can't help you because you're not in my postcode? Nah.
Right.
No chance. And it goes back to my point that I said earlier. To me, it's all about if you can signpost someone to get the help that they need, then that's what it's all about, surely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We can help somebody out. I mean, even if that's just, therapy, because a lot of people can't get therapy. Maybe something we can do to help them out with that. And that's why you have to have these funds. I mean, is it called a 501c3 there?
I haven't got a clue what you're talking about now. You're speaking a foreign language to me, Jerry.
Yeah, in the States, the nonprofit we call is a 501c3.
Right. We are a CIO, which is a registered charity.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, there's other charities out there, but it's when you start looking at the financials and you think, where does the money that gets raised, where does it go?
Yeah.
That starts making you ask a lot of serious questions. And if I'm honest, I can get really, I wouldn't say worked up, but I could get really agitated about some of the things. But the way that I've sort of managed to cope with it is that I know that I can't help everyone.
Yeah.
It's going to be impossible to help everyone. But if I can help someone, even if it's just one person, then so be it.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we can make a difference, in just like when I do the shows. If we can inspire one person, then I feel we did our job. But but with your charity, you have employees, and that's just part of having a charity. But that's why you got to raise a lot of money. That's I thought somebody said something about where does the money go or with a charity, but. Yeah, Marina, exactly. It is wonderful what you're doing. It's right.
Well, look, the money, as I say, at the moment is going to pay a salary for. We've got, as I say, 6 stroke survivors on board now.
And that's awesome that they're stroke survivors.
Yeah, because they can't make it up. They've lived it. They know what their experience, and they can share their experiences to somebody new.
Right.
It makes them feel. And granted, it's only part time because the charity hasn't got loads of money. But you know, if we have a thing over here called the National Lottery, and they do a grants, and you know, the maximum that they offer a grant is something like £500,000.
Right.
So imagine the amount of people I could employ with that kind of money.
Right.
And the other side of the coin is that I could employ people full time and the stroke survivors full time, but I'm mindful that they've just come out of the situation where they're still recovering from the stroke.
Right.
The benefits they're on are sort of, they get accustomed to, they get paid it, and they understand it. And then all of a sudden they turn around to the benefit people and say, right, I'm okay now, I've got a job with StrokeInformation, I don't need my benefits anymore. Okay, he's out of the system. And then a week later, 10 days, they turn around and say, I can't handle this, it's too much, I can't do it.
Right.
It'd have to start the whole process again for them to get. So that's why at the moment, all I've done is say, look, right, just do 5 hours a week, manage it, make sure it's not too much.
Right.
Let's see how we go from there. And as the charity goes, it grows. It might be a case where we could say, hey, Dan, this week we could actually announce to you that if you wanted to do 20 hours this week and 20 hours going forward, we can do that if you want to.
Right. Right.
And just build it slowly. And that's, again, the analogy with the tortoise and taking the time, and just it just works so well.
Yeah. Now, I knew you had the obviously I knew that the charity that you do, and but I really kind of, it's so cool that they're all stroke survivors that are employed. I mean, it's not just somebody out off the street that's, you know,
no,
everyone.
We had one guy, I won't mention names in case anybody else knows him, but he did a series of podcasts, and he came to the drop-in a couple of times, and he even videoed it, and it transpired that he didn't actually have a stroke, but we took him on board and we were not judgmental or anything like that. Anyway, it transpires that he didn't have a stroke. He was just lonely.
Oh, wow.
And he just wanted to be part of something. And I nearly said his name then, but I just turned around and said, look, XXX, you've not had a stroke, have you? And he was like, no, I actually haven't. And I just turned around and said, look, XXX, you can still be part of it, but please don't, because you've upset quite a few people to pretend you've had a stroke. And
True.
you know, if I'm being honest, none of us want this. None of us signed up for this.
Right.
But we've been dealt the cards we have, and we've just got to get on with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Absolutely amazing.
Is that Marina? She wants to work 5 hours for me in America. Let's talk. Let's do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, Marina. We'll be in touch. I mean, yeah, no, that's great. That's great.
Joking apart, Jerry, there's no reason why we shouldn't.
I agree. We need to do it and spread the word out there in the States too, because
why not?
There's so many strokes that it's amazing. When I found out years ago, every 40 seconds in the States someone had a stroke. I mean, during the show, how many people already had a stroke? It's just crazy.
Yeah, and when you look at globally the amount of strokes that happen, 17 million, and you look at the different cultures within the different countries,
right?
You know, and I'm not being negative here, but if you know, I've got someone say in India, that has had a stroke, they wouldn't get the same sort of aftercare as well as somebody would in the UK. And to a certain element, they'd be left on their own devices, and it could be even worse in their neck of the woods. But if nothing else, we can all come together and say, look, we can try this, we can try that. We've got proven ways of working things through. Let's try it.
I agree. Definitely. Well, man, this has been great. I mean, we've been doing this for an hour already.
Blimey. It'll nearly be my tea time in a minute.
No, we can go all day. This is great. But yeah, I don't know if there's any last words you want to say, and then we can chat right after. But I appreciate you being on. Really, very inspiring and amazing story. As you know, they're all different.
Yeah.
But
my sort of parting message to anyone that's watching, listening to this is, please do not think you're on your own. And if you've got particular issues that you would like to share, then I'll certainly do what I can to help and rack my brain with other stroke survivors, and we'll find a way.
Yeah, absolutely. That's terrific. Well, I appreciate you guys that were here, and the ones that will be #replay. Appreciate it. So, Nick, once again, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome.